Well, it's just another case of our 2025 GOP doing everything they can to screw the little guy. According to the Congressional Budget Office, $1.02 trillion are getting cut from CHIP, Children's Health Benefits, and from Medicaid, and taking 10.5 million Americans away from those programs by 2034. So it's just another more chances for this party who says they're for the people to just screw the little guy.
Welcome to Third Side Convo with your host, Bob Phipps. Your panelists today are Stacia Boyd, Jeff Klein, Johnny Dunn, and Bill Russell. And now, your host, Bob Phipps.
Tonight, we are taking on the most talked about part of the big, beautiful bill, welfare reform. You know, on one side, it's all about restoring personal responsibility, cutting out waste, and making sure everybody's got some skin in the game. However, on the other side, critics say that it's just another way to make struggling families jump through even more hoops while the lawyers and bureaucrats cash in on the paperwork. You know, is this genuine reform or just another round of political whack-a-mole where the poor always seem to be the ones to be the mole? You know, as usual, we're going to try to pull apart the talking points, mix in some actual facts, and maybe, just maybe, find a little common ground before somebody's coffee goes flying. All right? Let's dive in. Now, Stacia, I know that you wanted to talk about another thing, but, you know, I know that you have opinions on the whole thing, on what they're doing. What is your view on what this whole bill is about as it relates to the things of Medicaid and SNAP and those such?
Well, I think, the healthcare situation in the country is clearly, it's been broken for a very long time. And whether that is, the ACA, Medicaid, Medicare, all of these things. But this bill did not do one thing to make any of that better. And in fact, went out of its way to make it, much, much worse. So, for example, my husband and I, small business owners, and from our company's inception back in 2002, pretty much I was a one issue voter. I was about deal with the healthcare situation. My husband stayed employed in a job that offered benefits far longer than he should have because we wanted to stay on that healthcare plan. Then we went on the just bought regular. Then finally, they came up with the ACA, and it's like, okay, not my favorite, but again, I liked Mitt Romney's version. I did. But then we were able to finally get health care. Then it got so expensive we couldn't get it. It became more than two house payments for us. And then in the early part of 2021, they made the change with the CARES Act, which made it where we could once again, they fixed a problem. They fixed the cliff.
Well, how does that relate to the big, beautiful bill, though? Because that's really more of a
because
Medicaid
what they're doing
and
with the
other
big, beautiful bill,
Okay.
one of the first things that they've done is they have taken all of that, and it's called the cap support for that. So at the end of this year, everyone on the ACA, their prices are going to go up extraordinarily because we who are paying into that system, I mean, it could be as much as anywhere from 50 to 100 to 150% more for those of us instantly come January 1st.
Hey, Bill, did you see that? Bill, did you see that within the BBB? Because we're already going far afield. Maybe this is a record here, but that's okay. What do you think? What's there?
Well, I haven't seen those particular increases, and there is a lot of misinformation in terms of the descriptions of what they're calling the cuts and what is going to increase and where those cuts are going. Most of what I've been seeing is where they're cutting out the money laundering that is done by a couple of states in terms of how they are channeling money. By taxing the Medicare providers, they are then taking that tax, reinvesting it into the state systems, and then they're taking advantage of the federal matching on it. And essentially what they were doing is laundering money that they were using then for folks that do not qualify for these programs. And California is the biggest violator, but it also has New York, Michigan, and Massachusetts that are doing this. So that's where a lot of the savings is built in. As far as those that are receiving care and are on these programs that are entitled to them, are citizens, their care is going to continue.
All right, Jeff, what's your opening thoughts to the BBB?
Well, it's just another case of our 2025 GOP doing everything they can to screw the little guy. According to the Congressional Budget Office, $1.02 trillion are getting cut from CHIP, Children's Health Benefits, and from Medicaid, and taking 10.5 million Americans away from those programs by 2034. So it's just another more chances for this party who says they're for the people to just screw the little guy.
Hey,
And every benefit that they take away from little people, they're not helping other people. They're except giving the 1% more money in their pockets.
all right, Johnny. Well, the talking points are set.
There's this really great television show on the web. It's called The Real Housewives of EBT. And I recommend that everyone who sees this video goes online and watches this amazing program, The Real Housewives of EBT. And if you can watch that and look me straight in the face and think things don't need to be reformed and cut, my mind would truly, truly, truly be blown away. And then one more thing, if I may. There is this really, really great Bible verse out of Thessalonians, and it says, if any would not work, they will not eat.
Come back to me, Bob. Take that back to me.
Opening point.
Give me that one, Bob. Give me
We'll
that
put
one.
y'all side by
I love
side.
listening to
Go
you.
for it. Here you go.
Okay, so that particular Bible verse is an important Bible verse because what that in that particular moment in context, what the writer is talking about is that the people who were standing around going, well, we don't need to work because Jesus is coming back. We don't have to do anything because Jesus is coming. We don't have to contribute to our community because Jesus is coming back. So when that was written, he was not writing it just to people who were lazy and just not, suffering and the poor. The Bible is very clear on what we should do for the poor. We should take care of the poor. That Bible verse is directed specifically to people who were true believers, believing that they were waiting for the Lord to come back and that they didn't have to work because of it, because it's going to happen any day now. That is a very clear, and that is so often misquoted when it comes to the idea that that people are lazy and that somehow their circumstances of life are their own fault. Even Jesus himself said, the poor will always be with you. He wasn't saying that because it was a condemnation of laziness. He was saying it because it was a condemnation of a human condition.
Like I said, go watch The Real Housewives of EBT. And I also love the old proverb, too. If you fish for a man, he eats for a day. But if you teach someone to fish, they can eat.
That's not a proverb.
Lifetime.
That is not a proverb. But you know what is a proverb? In Proverbs, you will have this wonderful that said, better to encounter a she-bear robbed of her cubs than a fool engaged in his own folly. That is a proverb.
That's a good one.
What is EBT? Can you tell us at least what those initials are?
Couldn't tell you what it is, but it's a damn fine show to watch.
It's an electronic benefits card.
I mean, these people are eating better than me, and I'm working 50, 60 hours a week.
EBT is an electronic benefits card. So if you have the benefits card, it's called an EBT.
Thank you.
Seriously, Mr. Klein, watch the show. It is quite a hoot, and it's not fake either.
I'm never gonna argue that there aren't people who violate the system and there aren't cheaters out there. But again, a kid on chips is not a cheater.
Okay, Bill, are they actually cutting benefits? Or are they limiting? What is the issue here?
No, they're limiting the growth, but they're not cutting benefits. And most of those 10 million folks that Jeff referred to, a lot of those are, in fact, illegal aliens who are receiving benefits in states like California, New York, Massachusetts, and Michigan. And that's part of the way with the states laundering the money that I described earlier. That's how they're doing the money, because it is blocked by federal law. And the big, beautiful bill actually closes that loophole and cuts off the funding to those individuals. The whole point of this is that the folks who are entitled to these programs need to be protected, and those programs need to be protected from abuse by folks, be they criminals, be they here illegally, or simply not entitled to receive those funds.
Sorry.
Again, according to the Congressional Budget Office, it's not about abuse. Those who need Medicaid most, including people with disabilities and the elderly, will be affected by the bill's cuts.
And
we're not talking about welfare cheaters or any of that.
Yeah. And the same Congressional Budget Office said those folks are going to be receiving their funds, and it is not that is not a the folks who are receiving the funds, who genuinely need them, have the genuine need, are going to continue to receive them.
What about the rural hospital closures and all the healthcare workforce layoffs that are going to come from Medicaid cuts?
Let's see how they pan out and what the market brings to bear.
Those things are coming, but like, for example, to give a hard classic example of what we're talking about, where things are going to cut, people are going to be tossed off. What they're doing is they're saying, yeah, no, people who deserve it are still going to be able to get it. So, for example, the work requirements, you have to be able to work, 80 hours within a month. But the way they calculate that is you have to go, and it counts if you're working a job or if you're working a volunteer. And there are limitations on how old and how many kids and all that kind of stuff. It gets very, very complex. But what they do is, let's say you go a week, somebody like you're working with these low jobs at Dollar General, for heaven. Let's pick on Dollar General. And you don't get your 20 hours. Well, you have to report that. And to report it, you have to do it online. And if you do it online, because you can't do it over the phone, but in order to qualify for SNAP benefits, if you you are not allowed to have internet access. So one of the things is that it's called sludge. They put all of this sludge in between people. The whole idea is to make people self-select off or fall off.
Wow. Well, you know what? I don't ever know how these government bureaucracies actually do this. I mean, these things are so complicated. In my tax practice, I see tax laws. They create this law, and then all of a sudden, somebody has got to figure it out. And I'm not so sure they know what they're doing sometimes. So please, let's go ahead and take our first break, get back to our sponsor. Please subscribe to Facebook. Go on thirdsideconvo.com. We're also on Spotify and Amazon Music. So we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. This is fun. Okay.
I assume you'd have fun with that, right?
Yeah.
You're on this camera?
Yeah.
Ten seconds.
Mm-hmm. So we're back. Now, Jeff, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that there are any limits that need to be put on a lot of these government programs? I mean, what do we have to do to limit them from just being abused? I mean, isn't that part of what they're trying to do?
Well, one of the things that we used to have was people who actually had integrity in working in these offices before people threw them out with the bathwater just recently. You can't fire 300,000 people when you only needed to fire 300 people and to replace bad people. You actually have to let these inspector generals do their jobs to get rid of bad people. And frankly, bureaucracies, a lot of people just complain about bureaucracies, but the truth is they actually work if you let them work.
Well, okay, all right, okay.
Laugh like you want, but when the system, there's a lot of bloat and all that, but every time government has set out to make repairs, it's worked when they've actually done it with integrity. And Al Gore, our old friend who invented the internet, and I know we're not supposed to say names, but he's back in the past.
Right.
He did a whole He did a whole program of cutting waste, and he successfully cut millions and millions of dollars of government waste during that administration.
Okay,
And
Bill, are they trying to do the same thing now, Bill, or what? I mean,
No, well, first of all, I think Jeff has a fundamental misunderstanding of government bureaucracies and the how long corruption has been part of the system within government. It has gone on basically going back to the days of the founding. There will always be corruption that creeps in to and tries to get their fingers into the government coffers. In terms of the bureaucracies and the way they work, and actually Stacia touched on it when she described some of the problems in people trying to self-report and the difficulties they have. But a flip side of that is oftentimes bureaucracies, particularly those dealing with welfare, have a vested interest in getting people onto welfare and perpetually dependent so that they can expand their bureaucracies and protect their jobs. And this has been a problem throughout that you had bureaucrats signing up people with bare minimum of qualifications, even if they weren't qualified, just to get them into the system so that they can continue to grow the welfare rolls and protect their bureaucratic jobs. And that is the nature of every bureaucracy within the government.
Well, it seems like Jeff has more faith in the bureaucracy than Bill does.
What I have, Bob, is basic faith in the people who choose to go to work for the government. And what a lot of people who are on the right side of opinion have a low impression of people who choose to go to work for the government. There's this thing called integrity that a lot of people deny people who work in public service have, turning things like community worker into a pejorative term instead of an honorable profession that both sides have, and turning that into an insult instead of just a job. And one of the things that's happened in this big beautiful bill is solving problems that don't exist. Some of these places where people say there's waste, there really wasn't any significant statistical waste, but some guy in a congressional seat or in a bureaucratic office got a hair that there was something they didn't like, or the wrong person complained about a thing, and that became a big part of a bill.
Right. Well, it's interesting in England. They've got stronger or more massive welfare programs than the U.S. does. In fact, in the U.K., I just read a statistic that showed that the number of people collecting disability exceeds the amount of money spent on the military and education. Now, you got to look at how they do that, because they included social welfare, stuff like that. Now, Johnny, I know that you've got a big view on how best to help people, and yours probably is more internal. What's your view on how best that we can help the people that need it?
I mean, true love is actually teaching people responsibility. And I really enjoyed that interview that Arnold did on The View a couple weeks ago. And they were expecting him to say one thing, and he kind of blew their heads out of the water. And he said, if you want to be in America with all these gifts, you better be here because you want to contribute. And I agree with the man completely. But, loving people is not giving them free handouts, because getting our hands dirty in doing work aligns with the purpose that we have in life. And when we're living out our purpose, we're much more happy and fulfilled people. But when we're just laying around expecting people to do things for us, there's no dignity in that at all. In fact, I study mental health all of the time. And people who are mentally healthy they don't believe the world owes them a damn thing. And my buddy lived in Philadelphia, but he moved away. And I said, how come these same groups of politicians keep getting elected in, Nate? And he's a pastor, by the way. And he's like, because there's more people getting handouts than more people contributing. And the vast amount of people getting the handouts don't want to lose their handouts.
Hey, Stacia, you can jump in. We've got you side by side. Whenever you're side by side, you can jump in.
Well, I wanted to like just kind of like bring up a couple of things. The idea that that people don't expect anything. People who have this whatever that dug in. No, they don't. They do. What they expect is they expect to be treated with respect. They expect that when they go to work, they're going to get paid a decent wage for their contribution. They expect that the world is going to give them and provide them with the basic level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They've got their basics met. They're on that. They're somewhere between that second, third, and fourth tier to get themselves up there. What they don't expect, and nobody expects, is to suddenly being on the bottom end of that list. When all of a sudden, like now here you are and you've had a major health something happen and you are disabled, or you've had a baby that has severe, profound autism, or you are in a situation where you were either born into a circumstance or whatever, that you did your best, you really, really tried, but you haven't been able to get yourself into a position where, again, you've got a job, you're making $25,000 a year, where in a world it takes $48,000 a year to be able to be at least on that out of that first rung to the second. So going back to like correcting things, and I think this is important, there's plenty of room to correct. I agree. There are people who freeload off of, welfare, plenty of them. However, that person freeloading at, their $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 is not the same as what happened here in the state of Florida, where a $10 million Medicare repayment got basically sidelined and siphoned off into a political operative's $10 million campaign fund. That's where your fraud is.
Okay, Stacia, well, let me ask you a question. Do you want to then ask the question, is it just that the right doesn't like poor people and they want to take advantage of them? I mean, they want to help the people that should be helped. I guess is the difference between whether this thing was needed to do that? Is that it? Jeff, what do you think? Is that the difference here?
I'm not going to say somebody doesn't like poor people. But there's a lack of respect for people who have difficulties.
Right.
That I will say that there's a whole disrespect for the reality that happens to some people from time to time.
Well, ask them that. Ask the other side that. Give them a direct question. I mean, that's what this show's all about, because that's kind of how we're getting it framed right now, Jeff.
Well, I mean, I can honestly say that. But now I want to name names of what, because of some things that have happened here in Texas with certain leaders of our state when it comes to caring for people.
Okay.
We just had a major disaster, and what's going to happen from that major disaster is a whole bunch of people are going to get in serious trouble because they didn't spend money last year.
Wow. Because
a bunch of kids died on a river that didn't have to die because a bunch of people decided not to spend money.
Yeah, that place
that had been appropriated and given to them.
That's right, and that there's a big giant surplus in this state of lots of money that's there to be spent, and they keep not spending it on the people of this state who elected them to spend it.
Yeah, don't you love that you could always find at each political side does this, guys, you know that. They find the one thing. They find the illegal alien, the illegal, undocumented person that kills somebody, right? That person becomes the headline, right? This thing here, a tragedy occurs, and then now it's used for that. And that still frustrates me. But I'm saying, don't we want the same thing, that the people that need the help get it?
Well, we used to want the same things. I mean, 15 years ago, our top 5 things were the same, just in a different order.
Okay,
now
well, we're going to wrap up. Yes or no? Yes or no to his question. Do we really want the same things of every being helped? Jeff, you're a yes on that.
Not anymore.
Okay, not anymore. Johnny, do you still want the people help that get help? Yes or no?
Absolutely, Bob.
Thank you.
I mean,
yes is enough.
You know who I am, and I help people all the time. I'm helping people in Pakistan.
Okay,
on
that's
Saturday.
good enough. That's good enough. All right. So, Bill, do you want to help people?
Absolutely. I want to empower people mostly to help themselves. That's the most effective kind of help.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to get that out. So, listen. Before we're going to wrap in a minute. Got to take a break. We got to go on and talk to our, let our sponsor get in his things. Please subscribe. Go on YouTube. Go on ThirdSide.Convo, and please subscribe. Become a part of our community, because I know we're more together than we're apart. It doesn't always seem it, but son of a gun, we are. I talk to everybody. We'll be right back. Who's ever running these timers sucks. Oh, we got her going at 9 minutes. Cool.
Yeah, you.
We'll have to reset that. I'm going to the left camera. All right, welcome back. Now, before we wrap, we're going to have to do this. We're going to take a shot at finding some common ground. Now, even if we don't agree on every solution, the one thing I want you to do, is there one change to the system, left or right, that we can all get behind to make things fairer and more sustainable? But also, I want you to just bring up the points of the other side that actually make sense, even though you don't agree with them. All right? So I'm going to start with Johnny here. Johnny, give me your wrap on this. What do you agree with on the other side?
Look, I think we actually do. I wish we had a few more minutes. Like, I'm all for helping people too, but there being crystal clear-cut standards to where it doesn't devolve into buying voters.
Okay, excellent. Jeff, do you see what can you see on the other side that makes sense, even though you may differ on whether government is efficient or not, we'll say?
Well, I'm not sure that there's anything in this bill that helps anybody I think needs help.
No, just the comments of Johnny and Bill is what I'm talking about. On the other
Well,
side,
I mean,
yeah.
again, people definitely helping people to fish instead of just giving them a fish makes 100% sense. I do it every day in my life.
Excellent, Bill.
Well, I think we definitely want money to go to the folks who desperately need it. We want to help those that do need genuine help. It's just the difference is in our approach to achieving efficiencies in those processes. And that's where we have some fundamental differences.
Okay, Stacia.
I agree very much that it's like we should always help people who need help, and I also agree that we want to inspire people and to encourage people to be able to live their best life. We are the United States of America. We should be the place where somebody can come here and actually build the kind of life that they were trying to escape somewhere else, or that they saw a better opportunity here. We want to be that stepping stone situation. And I think that we all agree on that we do want to be, or aspire to be, the greatest nation on earth.
Okay, good. Now, is there any one thing, though, about... Okay, well, we'll go on and open it up then. I know, Stacia, so the one thing that we may need to talk about in the future is you want to talk about the ICE part of the bill, right? Okay,
yes.
Good. Okay, all right. Jeff, is there anything else in the bill that we ought to talk about in the future?
I mean, yes, and public radio, public television.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
That is a good one.
Okay, public radio. Johnny, do you know enough about the bill? I know you've stopped kind of watching politics and listening every day, and your mental health has improved apparently because of that. I can understand that. What though did you see in doing a little research for this show that you think we ought to possibly talk about on the BBB in the future?
I can't answer.
Well,
that.
you'll look for that. Bill, Mr. Russell, over in Poland currently, getting ready to go to bed soon, I'm sure. What's your thoughts on what needs to be done also on the bill that you've seen?
Well, I think the ICE discussion definitely merits some, if we wanted to go there and make that discussion. But there is so much in the bill because it is one big beautiful bill that controlled the entire omnibus legislation for the nation. You know, basically anything in the federal budget we could discuss.
Wait, I did come up with an idea.
You came up with something, Johnny? What is it, Johnny?
Right quick, can we get Station the hotline? You know that.
Did the passing of the big beautiful bill have anything to do with now there's suddenly no Epstein list? I believe there's a correlation.
There could be. I tell you, if that thing ever comes out, I wonder if we're going to have to wait as long as we had to wait on the, Lee Harvey Oswald situation, okay? This is crazy. And I so appreciate you being here. The one thing I do know we agreed upon, we really all do want to help people. It's just how do we do it?